don't know how Lucas managed to get away with saving the Unimog from that. Do you know, Lucas?
A little bit of skill and a lot of luck.
So in this video, we're going to unpack it. I've got Lucas here. We're on the bit of rock with the vehicle that actually did that whole thing. We're going to unpack it and see what we can learn about it. So Lucas, you've ended up here just before it all goes bad. Unpack, I'm going to say what went wrong. I'm not sure if that's the right word to use, but anyway, unpack it for us.
So we give it a bump, we got up there, and I got into a position on an angle like this. It's probably hard to see on the camera. The track's that direction, the truck was on the track like this, right? So I was on about a 25, 30 degree angle to the track, and I couldn't steer the truck because all of the weight had shifted onto the steer tires, and the steering wheel was literally locked up. Like I had a foot on the wall trying to reef on one side just to get it, but I couldn't shift it. Like it was proper stuck. The steering was just locked, and I was on that angle. So what I needed to do was try and roll forward a little bit to free the steering up so I could, bring the steering wheel around so I could obviously try and realign the truck to get up there. The front driver's tyre was up on that rock there, so the back of the truck was up there. As I've started to come forward, it started to find this hole here. And as I'm finding the hole, because I'm on and off the brakes and the clutch and everything else, air's depleting. So the brake pedal doesn't respond nowhere near.
These are air brakes.
Yes. If you got no air, you got no brakes. I ran out of brakes, and it got to a point where the truck sort of shifted forward, rolled through the brakes, you might say. Front right wheel dove into that hole, and then it stood up, like it stood up that back left wheel. And at that point, I was like, I've got to give this thing the berries. So it was on the gas, and as you see in the video, as it come down, the back passenger side tyre went skyward.
It's all up in here.
So the truck's come down the hill like this. So because it's going to fall over that way, I've gone hard right hand down, stood on the gas to try and drive through it and to weight shift back the other way. But as it started to come down, I'm like, holy smokes, now it's going to go the opposite direction. So I'm trying to get hard right hand down when all the weight of the truck is on one wheel, and then it weight shifted to the other wheel.
So you're literally on one wheel.
Twice! Unimog, not unicycle. And then gave that a bit of a love kiss into this bank here, like pretty solid. It hit it that hard, you'll see the taillight lens on the passenger side fell off the truck. It didn't touch the ground, it was just the shudder and the impact broke the lens.
Actually, the other day we were changing some globes in the back of this, and it had bent the filament inside the globe. The impact.
How hard it hit. They're normally straight, but they were like horseshoes because they're just. So
the forces.
Oh, mate, it was huge. But by the time I got it around, we were on.
It was happening.
It was a bit on, yeah. But anyway, we made it to the bottom safely, and then I said to Dan, so Dan actually gave me a hug. He goes, "You all right, man?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." And I go, well, let's give another go. And I pulled in reverse, and reversed back up to the. Dan's like, is he serious?
Yeah, Dan's like, I'm getting out of this. So just so you know, Dan from Dan Engineering, isn't it? He owns this truck, and he has a deal with Lucas to drive it.
Yeah.
That might be getting screwed up next week.
But no, it was all good and well. So we pulled up here and cheered on the crowd, and they absolutely loved it.
Of course,
I loved it.
Yeah, everybody loves somebody else spending their money to entertain them. So what's your scariest moment off-road? Let us know in the comments down below. So Lucas, can you unpack what was going on that night when we had our little oopsie moment?
Little oopsie. I'll tell you what, it was an electric night. We had people lining the hills, both sides. We had lights all up and down the hill. It was a massive social weekend for one of our major sponsors of the park. And the pressure was on, mate. Lucas had to perform. And what do? You try and reverse a mog up this crazy hill.
Now, there were other people having a go at the hill, or was it just you?
No. So it was all about hardcore climb and see how you get up there and, get the crowd going. And like I say, the crowd was absolutely insane, cheering cars up as they went up and, spinning tyres, lifting wheels. Like, it was a crazy night. It was awesome.
Sounds cool. So this is called hardcore climb.
It is.
Most of the hills and climbs in the park have different names. So how much of this was peer pressure, buddy?
Well, I don't know how many people were here, but it was peer pressure from every single person that was on these hills.
Do you think that had an impact on the way you drove?
Personally, I don't think it did a great deal. I've been doing this long enough to understand the risks and the dangers and all the rest of it, and to understand peer pressure, and don't give in to peer pressure, because sometimes it'll put you into a silly situation. So
Yeah. You would see that quite often, the peer pressure, putting drivers into a situation which is beyond their skill set.
Yeah, every single weekend, mate.
Did you try driving up this forwards beforehand?
I did.
Yep.
I think I was the first vehicle. So up forwards.
Of the night.
Yeah.
How did you prepare mentally for the climb? What were the considerations? What was going through your head?
Well, obviously a 6.5 ton truck. You know, that's the first. You're driving a skyscraper. Like, this thing is just ridiculous. So that's the first thing. You know, so you got to take into consideration of where the wheels are, the weight shift, the weight placement that's on this particular truck. You know, what could go wrong, what could go right, and what are we going to do about that, and how do we manage that to get off the hill safely or up the hill safely?
Basically, although this Unimog is really great looking and presents beautifully, like, love the blue and all that, it's still basically a stock Unimog.
It is.
Yeah, this is how the military would have been using it.
That's exactly how the military used it. Yep.
It's just as well they're soldier proof, eh?
Yeah, well, and Lucas proof as it be.
As it be. Did you think about, if something goes wrong, what are my options?
At the moment when I went, righto, we're on, let's go. I'm going to reverse up this thing. And just the walk to the truck.
Yes.
My head's just pounding, like, you know, what if it stands up on its nose? What if it lays over on its side? You know, how am I going to manage all that?
Okay, so what were some of those things?
So let's start from bad to good. The worst thing you can do is jump on the brakes, panic, and that's what a lot of beginner people do. They just go, stop, jump on the brakes, everything will stop like it does at the car park at Woolies, and we're all safe. But in this situation, if you've done that, the tail of the car, the truck, is going to overtake you, and you're going to end up on your lid. So,
and that's because the front wheels have stopped.
Everything stops.
But there's still kinetic energy in the mass of the vehicle.
That's exactly right.
That wants to flow over.
So you've got to be prepared for that, to be able to go, I need to get on the gas.
Right.
You know, or pop in the clutch, or whatever it may be, and let it roll through that, or drive out of it, or whatever it needs to be. Because this was always the biggest concern, was how it was going to handle all that weight at the front of the truck, nothing at the back of the truck.
So I'm about 6 foot, and that there is coming up here. So I'm going to call that 5 foot.
You're sitting on a ledge. I mean, my eyes are dead set. I'm looking right at the top of that.
Okay, you happy now? I'm just going with 5 foot. I don't know where we're measuring it from, but
it is up there.
It is certainly a big step. How did you think about the approach angle? Because obviously, as the truck comes over this, the front of the truck would run the risk of hitting the embankment. How did you process that? Or did you just, it should work?
Well, there was a little bit of that. Well, obviously reversing up, I got a chance to feel it all out. So that was one of those things that I thought about on the way to the truck, is like, I need to work and feel this hill out, and how this truck's going to react to that angle, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I'm not sure if you'll see it in the video, but I had 3 or 4 goes at this, where I just put the back wheels up, and I just had a bit of a feel, and I rolled forward, and I tried different angles and different approaches, just feeling the hill out, which I do if I'm doing it forward and it's a crazy hill as well.
I use the term taste and see.
Yeah, well, I was having a little bit of a taste. I took a few bites as well.
Had some gnawed on a rock.
But so yeah, felt it out a little bit. Belted like there's a chunk out of the rock there. That's from my triple step on the other side.
Yep.
Yeah, where it hit there. But so obviously I was testing clearance, testing traction, testing weight shift, like all of these things. You know, it wasn't just he's having a go and he's not getting it. Like, I was physically feeling the hill out, having a taste.
Yeah, so you're learning the hill, learning what does my truck do on this hill on this day. I
got to a point where I was comfortable. I was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. Like, the truck's going to jump up on its nose. It's going to weight shift, you know, and I had a plan in my mind. If it does that, don't jump on the brake pedal. I'm going to jump on the gas, or I'm going to clutch in and, you know, let it roll through it. Or So I had all these plans, tasted it, and then I found the line that I was most happiest with, the most comfortable with, and I gave it a bump, and she shot to the top.
Yeah, which was really cool. So just on the thinking through. I think that's a really important point to consider. Something that I've seen pilots do, they do their pre-flight checks, and I've seen one particular pilot, before he takes off, he does if I have to abort the takeoff, this is what I'm going to do. I don't know it, but it's like flaps, turn to the right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, planning for his emergency. And so you're using that same principle in this environment. And I think that's important for all of us. You don't have to be doing something extreme like this, but if it feels extreme to you as a driver, stop, take time to think through and formulate, if this happens, this is what I'll do, because that'll bring it to the forefront of your mind. It's the muscle memory that we're drawing on. You don't have time to think about it when it all goes bad, do you?
No.
Are you speaking from experience?
Yeah, a little.
So what tyre pressures was the truck set up at?
20 PSI.
Wow.
It's the perfect, for this situation, beadlocks, perfect situation.
Yeah, right. I was thinking truck, you're going to say sort of 30, but there you go.
20 pounds. They're on 20 right now.
Now, you've been talking a lot about putting the clutch in, hitting the gas or powering on. Can you unpack that a little bit for the audience?
In that scenario, you touch the brake pedal, they're going to go right over the top and you can land upside down, which isn't ideal for anybody.
Yeah.
In my mind, the whole time, it is clutch in. And the reason for that is when that weight shift goes up, you push the brake, the wheels stop. You push the clutch in, the wheels let go, and it'll let you roll through it. It'll change that weight distribution to going over your head to going back to the ground and potentially driving out of it safely.
So would it be fair to say that the front of the truck can now move out from under the weight?
Yes, that's exactly right. I actually jumped on the gas. I was in third gear when that stood up because I knew that just doing the clutch, there was too much weight shift going on, and the clutch in simply wouldn't have caught the truck. It just would have kept going.
Yep.
So I stood on the gas in third gear. You'll see a puff of smoke coming out the pipe. In these scenarios, you really need to have a good hard think about those sorts of situations. If it's going to stand up, do I push the clutch in? Are you in an automatic? Do you block it into neutral, or do you have it in like second gear, ready to stand on the gas? Or, so there's lots of different scenarios. But just keep in mind, this sort of scenario, clutch, neutral, or gas, what do we do?
You would have had both front and rear diff locks in.
100%.
Well, when these techniques come into play, you are going to be applying them in the extreme environments because that's where you end up with vehicles in these sort of situations. So you will have a vehicle, generally speaking, that's going to be twin locked, and you will already have those lockers in. And that's because you want all four wheels driving. You don't want a wheel just rolling along, for the most part. There's a few exceptions, but
I think the benefit of lockers too, Matt, is it takes a lot of stress off like when you're doing extreme stuff like this, if you haven't got lockers on and you got one wheel spinning and bouncing and you're looking for disaster, breakages and all the rest of it. So lockers on, you've got more control, less damage to your truck, less stress on your truck.
Let's just talk about mechanical sympathy. From a mechanical perspective, generally speaking, front diffs going backwards, they don't like it. Why did you know this vehicle, even though it's a truck, could cope with that amount of load?
Oh, look, they are built bulletproof, as you stated before.
Soldier-proof, yep.
Yep, well, soldier-proof, yeah, bulletproof, soldier-proof. They are just an absolute tank of a machine. But they have full portal diffs. So the portal diffs and the way the portals drive through the axle shaft comes in, goes to a gear, there's another gear, and then it sends the drive to the tyre, to the wheel. So you lose a lot of stress, and those gears take a lot of that punishment out of all of the driveline and stuff. So I had 100% confidence that the truck would survive it. And obviously they've way over-engineered the Unimogs.
Well, they're supposed, I don't know that they ever intended them to drive this, but when they were designed to operate off-road with a full load on.
100%.
And be driven by soldiers.
Yeah.
And making out that soldiers are bad drivers.
But they've got 8 gears forward and 8 gears in reverse.
Yeah, so they can retreat faster.
That's right, absolutely. But the point of that is, if you need to go 8 gears backwards and you need to go 8 gears forwards, it needs to be as strong backwards as it does forward. So the drive line and everything is just so strong, whether you're going forwards, backwards, or you're on one wheel in this case.
Yeah, that's right. Now, if you've got a video that you'd love me to do a reacts to, email it to madmatt@madmatt4wd.com.au. Now, if you'd like to see me get up this hill with Lucas in a Jeep. Watch that video linked above. That was a stupid day, wasn't it? But anyway,
It was fun.
It was fun. If ever you're out the back of Brisbane and you want to go four-wheel driving, come and check out Lucas's place. It's not a bad four-wheel drive park. I'm Mad Matt. Stay safe on the trails.
And I'm Lucas.
The one job. Matthew, you had one job.